Did you know every roofing job can either build trust or break it before your team even climbs a ladder? I'm Adam Sands, CEO of the Roofing Business Partner. In this video, Allison Sands, CPO at Roofing Business Partner, walks you through a world-class inspection experience, from the booked appointment to delivering a value-packed SumoQuote presentation. If you want to scale without losing quality or customer trust, this is a must-see.
So Inside Sales has booked the appointment. This is what the customer gets. So there's an inspection for the date with the company and send a photo of the actual inspector. That's what the homeowner sees. And then the outside sales is going to get a notification. They're going to say on our way. And then the customer is going to get that we have dispatched an RVP team member or obviously someone else. It would actually say what their name was. And then on the next slide, we have arrived. This is where we would actually explain that we've arrived. So we would show up at the customer's door and we would then greet them and just say, meet Ken. Ken's then going to set up his ladder. And so once he's done his safety setup, he's going to click safety setup is completed. And the customer is going to know that because they're kept in the loop. Once he's done his entire inspection, taking photos and telling the customer how he's going to prepare his inspection, and he's going to hop into his truck and quickly run that through his iPad. Once he gets into his truck, he's going to say, I have prepared my inspection, and the customer is going to get a notification. And then he's going to knock on the door and he's going to say, ready to present, knock on the door, and the customer is going to kind of come out and see that we are going to walk through the CompanyCam profile. And so that's the time when we're actually going to jump in and we're going to walk through every single photo. And I think that a lot of inspectors miss this because they are like, oh, well, the customer already knows what their house is like. Like, they live here, so obviously they have to know what I know. But contrary to popular belief, most homeowners are busy. Most homeowners are busy. They might not know what's going on their roof because they don't actually, on Saturdays, they go to Home Depot and Starbucks. They don't get up on their roof and walk in and see all the damage. And a lot of times they don't know what they're looking at. And so we want to make sure that like you are annotating your photos. All right. So we're going to explain to them, some of the penetrations that go from the attic, extra points for always going in the attic. And now I know that we're actually looking at that penetration. And if this was actually the point of the leak, we know because of annotations. This is really fantastic because we can actually see like that we're looking at heavy granule loss. The customer can also see that there's heavy granule loss. So they know that like these little black spots shouldn't be there. Then we can cover nail pops, quite a terrible nail pop. And the customer knows exactly what they're looking at here. Again, heavy granule loss. And so the customer is starting to notice that like, hey, I think I have heavy granule loss after the third time that I've seen this. And so we're just really drilling into like, what is wrong with this roof? Again, there's nails kind of laying out on the roof. So we're really just like diving into the pain of what the customer is experiencing. So granule loss and blistering. But the customer wouldn't necessarily know that unless you're going through every single photo and we're not glazing over it. So like, why is there a hole here in the shingle? They can also see the holes inside of the shingle, which means that if there is an underlayment, we have a big problem. We probably should build a saddle here. Water is just going to sit here. Again, another dead end where the valley goes right in. And you can see that like things are sitting here because we can see that there's pine needles sitting here. The ridge cap shingles are worn down to the fiberglass. There's heavy granule loss here as well. Nail pops and heavy granule loss. You can start to see that the customer is really understanding like how bad their roof is. While you see roofs every single day, as the outside sales sees roofs every single day, the customer doesn't see roofs every single day. Because when they look at their home, they look at the fact that they had, white stone siding and that they have their number 837 might be a little bit crooked. So they probably should get up and fix that. They don't look at their roof. Most people don't know what the color of their roof is. And if you were to ask, they've either just bought a roof or they've gone through this experience. So it's like, we really want to start really driving into what is the problem here. We don't want to leave anything to the imagination. We want to make sure that the customer truly understands what the problem is with their roof. Because I think this customer knows at this point that they have heavy granule loss. So I think this is a really great inspection here. And then we want to allow the customer to really feel the pain of not making a decision. Because at the end of the day, we don't really want to sell anybody. We want to make sure that they make a decision and that we're not having to call them over and over again. And then we start getting into how are we going to start taking care of the property? Because you'd be surprised how many other roofing companies aren't going to tell them that they're going to take care of this property. And you can also see we have pitch. And then at the end, we're going to go into like the beauty shot of the home so that it's the first photo. When we go to create this SumoQuote, at this point, we're then going to present the solution. So I'm going to jump over to SumoQuote here. And I would explain to the customer that this is obviously the first page. This is, as we would say, a very beautiful photo of the home. We want to make sure that we add this to the profile. Grab their attention because it's their house and their name. And they can also see that it's a select shingle master because we might not get this closed on the first time. And if we can't get it closed on the first time, that means that they're going to be viewing this later on with either the second decision maker or with, a friend. So it's like we want to make sure that we have all this information. So we're going to cover through very first photo of the home. Then we're going to get into the letter from the owner. And we're actually going to go through and choose what we're going to share here. So we want to make sure that when we're doing this letter from the owner, we're not just saying, and this is a letter from the owner, and it's really important because he could be out driving supercars in the desert, but he chooses to be here and he actually knows the name of the customer of every roof that we're going to install. It's like we don't want to glaze over it. We actually want to go through, and that's why it's really important that we're not just practicing looking at the SumoQuote, that we're practicing reading. Everybody should read this at least once a week so that they can get their word tracks, because you have to be smooth when you're going through them. And that's why we always venture to make them a little bit more simple, and then that we're going to really drive into what is the value behind the owner actually being involved in every single project. As we're going through, we want to make sure that the letter from the owner is not something that we're going to glaze over, that we're going to cover the expertise and the quality materials, the custom solutions, the transparent communication, and the timely completion, affordable pricing. We want to get into the fact that we provide competitive pricing without compromising on quality, without cutting corners. And so we want to invite you to schedule a consultation with our team so that you can discuss the roofing needs in detail. So our owner is involved in every single project that we do. And then we're going to get into the compare-contractor. And so we're not skipping through all these photos, and we're also not saying to the customer, well, it seems like it's going to be really a lot that we're going to have to go through, and we're going to have to go through a lot of these pages, and it's going to take a long time. You can just skip to the price. And then you come to RBP and you're like, well, the customer says it takes a long time to go through these. And it's like, yeah, well, how did you present it with them? How did you fuel them to go through all of the pages and not build value? Because what we've done is we've made it easy so that you can build value. But if you skip over them, the customer will also skip over them, and all of that intended value and all of that money that you spent trying to build value is completely lost. So we want to say the roof is the most critical component of your home. By the way, it's also one of the most expensive. So we want to make sure that you're understanding that the exterior envelope is among the most extensive and costly projects that a homeowner will undertake, and selecting the right contractor that understands your home and your needs is paramount. And we're going to go through we've been around since 2019, which is not as long as the typical contractor, but we've also done way more projects. And we have a site supervisor that sits on site with you all day. So if you have an issue, you can actually reach out to them, and he's actually going to go and meet all of your neighbors as well. Then we're going to also cover WC coverage. It's not just on the owner, it's also on everybody that's on site. So our entire crew has workmanship coverage. We specialize in residential re-roof. We have liability insurance, and we make sure that we have a proper coverage so that if anything were to happen, because we don't live in a perfect world, and sometimes accidents do happen, and that's why we have liability insurance that will cover not only our property but also your property, because we turn your home into a construction site for the day. So we want to make sure that we have the proper coverage so that if anything goes wrong, you are covered. We are manufactured, trained, and certified of the products that we install. So we aren't going to be installing any products that we're not trained and certified to install. We have financing options to make sure that this is affordable, because we understand that life comes up and you should probably keep your money in your pocket for the next global incident, and instead of paying off of your roof. And our crews are they spend money here. They do their grocery shopping here. They do their banking here. We have locally based crews. We have comprehensive project audits on every single project. So we make sure that we don't only do quality control, we also do quality assurance. And we have a combined roofing experience of over 100 years because of the team that we choose to back your project and every project that we do. And we're willing to provide an exact quote. We go line by line. So we go through every single line item of everything that is going to be hoisted or brought onto your roof. And we're locally licensed. So we're licensed to do work in this county. We have all the different municipalities and all of the different areas. We are licensed to work here. And so we don't just come here when, there's a storm and there's a lot of money being made. We come here to empower the homeowner to get the best solution for their house. And you can also take a look. We have a 4.9 star average, and we have over 250 Google reviews. This is our active Google presence. We make sure that we respond to every single one of those lives that we touched when we come in and inspect the home. We are also going to go through the testimonials that we've gathered. We're going to go through every single page. We're big on communication. We're going to cover that you get an aerial imaging, continuous communication, daily recap, and photo reporting. That we're going to leave your home better than we found it. And for those precious feet, we're going to use a magnet rake, and we're going to use vented tarps so that we're not going to starve your lawn of the sunlight that it needs that day. So you're not going to get yellow spots. So we're smooth and professional, and we do the roof replacement, providing communication, containment, and then a 5-time perimeter sweep to capture all nails so that when you're hosting a party later on with those precious paws and precious feet, that your project was done to completion. We're going to cover like the different products that the customer can choose. And then we're going to also discuss workmanship warranty and that they get 100% coverage, how each plan would play into the next. And so what the protection that they will have. And then we're going to also cover like the difference between the shingle products. So like actually going through like what is the durability and toughness? What is the product warranty? What is the Street Fighter warranty? Because we want to explain to them that they're going to get a difference between workmanship warranty and product manufacturer warranty and why that matters. At this point, we're probably thinking we're really expensive, but you know what? We've actually partnered with one of the best financing partners in the industry. And so we can provide easy monthly payment for homeowners. And so we can actually defer that cost so that you can pay for your son's graduation next year because you can actually finance this project. And we can defer those payments so that you can actually cover that within the next 3 years or 36 months. We've proudly partnered with Finance It just to provide a better solution for each homeowner. And then commonly asked FAQ questions. So this is what our customers are asking. So what are the components of your roof replacement? What if there's bad wood discovered? What does the warranty cover? So we want to make sure that we have both a material warranty and a workmanship warranty. And can I finance my roof project? I received bids from 3 different companies. Which one should I go with? So these aren't from us. These are actually questions that other homeowners just like you have asked us. And do I need to be home during my installation? And so for most projects, no, but if we need to get into your home, obviously yes, but we can also make sure that we keep you in the loop because we use a job site tracking software called Arrive. And then we're going to start getting into upgrades because we want to start assuming the sale. So like you see that your neighbors have solar, we also want to provide that to you. So I know that you said that this is like you have to get your roof done. So what we can do is we can actually provide this little box that mounts onto your roof and it also looks like a vent. And so then when you are ready to get those solar panels, we can actually hook them up a lot easier because you already have that solar readiness planning. It actually increases your resale value because your home is ready for those panels. And so this is an upgrade that you can see as well. And then we're also going to offer that 5-year workmanship warranty. So this is what you're actually going to get when you purchase from us. And now we're going to go line by line through the quote. You're going to get 3 quotes here or 2 quotes depending on what you have here. And so we're going to cover the actual shingles. So we have the Certainty, the Landmark shingles. You're going to need 109 of those. Then we're going to get into the Swift Start and explaining where the Swift Start goes. The Shadow Ridge, that goes on your hips and ridges. We have Leak Protection Ice and Water, that goes double course in both the perimeter of the roof as well as in the valleys. Then we have Synthetic Underlayment, and that goes wherever the ice and water doesn't go. And then we're going to get into our Drip Edge and our coil roofing nails. And then we're going to get into our steel valley metals. We're going to go through the polyurethane caulking and the step flashing. So we're going to get into our fasteners and flashings, our wall flashing, our chimney flashing, as well as our vents. So it's actually a ridge vent with a filter to make sure that nothing is getting in there. And we actually go with the DuraFlow standard vents. We have our pipe flashings in 3-inch and 4-inch, our bathroom vents, kitchen vents, vent plugs, which brings you to a price of $14,802.46. Remember, this is the pricing without the financing. And then, as I said, our Landmark Pro, the only thing that changes here is the Landmark Pro shingles as well as the Shadow Ridge. Everything else stays the same, and we upgraded the ice and water. It covers price of $16,608.96. And then for the Landmark Premium, we're going to upgrade the shingle as well as the Swift Start. The Shadow Ridge stays the same. Ice and water stays the same, but we are going to upgrade the synthetic underlayment to the Certainty Diamond Deck. And then we're going to get into upgrades before we get into the actual signing of the quote so that we can upgrade to a turbo roof vent, which is our most popular upgrade for extreme weather protection, as well as making sure that it resists the crushing, denting, or peeling when hail does strike. And then as well as the seamless gutters and the gutter guards. Then we're going to get into colors. So not only showing the swatches, but also showing that the best color for your home is a burnt sienna product. So we have one for each one. So also the Landmark Pro and the increase in value here, as well as the premium. And then we get into the upgrades that we suggest, as well as the 3 different options for the $14,000, $16,000, and $21,000 options. And then we get into the final page, which is the disclaimer. So then we can now sign now, which moves it in HubSpot to contract signed or sent for signing.